right, good people of the internet. Glad to be here with you for today's SightShift Campfire, where I'm coming live weekly to you for the SightShift Campfire. And I take a question, I answer that, and we learn and we grow and we go about our day. So, context, real quick SightShift Campfire, where I'm doing this Q&A. Um, the today's question is, how do you stay encouraged? There's a lot of different iterations of this question that I get in different ways, um, and I'm going to talk about it at a number of different levels. When I do these questions, usually it's something that I'm thinking about a lot. This happens to be one of those things I do think about a lot, so I will for sure leave out something that I've written about today. There's no way I could capture it all in the short time we have, but I'll do my best to give you a holistic picture. Because what happens for a lot of people is they don't understand that they've got to look at the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the social for staying encouraged. And at a baseline, I just want to acknowledge that we have different brains, and so some of you have a brain that's more, you got lucky, right? You get more serotonin, dopamine than somebody else. So that's a part of the conversation. And wherever you're at with your mental health, it is normal to go through periods where circumstantially you feel discouraged, circumstantially you feel depressed or tired or whatever. But there's a difference between circumstantial experience of a low and a brain chemistry low. And if you have a continual, persistent brain chemistry low, that's where you want to get some professional help. Get some help at maybe holistic supplementation, rebuilding your lifestyle, thinking through that, or Western medicine help. And lots of friends and loved ones that have seen a lot of improvement in a baseline chemical way with doing holistic work and or Western medicine. So that's a huge thing because, like, I don't talk about this publicly a lot, but before I got into what I'm doing now, full time with SightShift, I've had a number of different like career iterations. One of those was pastoring, actually, and I left that profession for a number of reasons. Um, and one of them for sure was there's a lot to it. The way that you help people when they come up and they're like, in that world, in that language, they're saying something like, I feel really tired, pray for me. And you want to have a conversation in a way that's helpful to them, but they're not paying attention to diet rhythms, the choices they're making. So this is a huge conversation. So first, let's start with physical. How do you keep yourself encouraged? For me, it's like a tripartite, like a three-part stool. It's supplementation, it is exercise, and it is rest. So I have paid attention to my body and learned what supplements help me a lot, what don't. I'm constantly experimenting with that. I've also worked with doctors at different points. Currently have a great recommendation I can give you if you want one, that we did a whole level diagnostic on me, studied, paid attention, learned what wasn't and was working, so that I could figure out with even more precision and accuracy what supplements make the biggest difference. And I'm telling you, it's amazing. I mean, those of you that know, I had a 9 centimeter oval cut out of my face a month ago because a spot that I thought was psoriasis, basal cell carcinoma, is actually what it ended up being. And I'll show you the scar. Like, my face feels still tight, but if you would have seen the scar a month ago to where it is now, and part of that is because of supplementation. I won't go into all the details of what I'm doing, but the speed of the healing. I used at different points nootropics that help me get my legs back when I've gone through like a hard time. It's not something I want to take all the time, but there are different ones I've experimented with that have delivered amazing results for me. I know there's a lot of junk science in supplementation, so that's why I try to do the research. I learn for myself, experiment on myself. So, but when you talk about the physical, you've got this tripartite approach: supplementation, exercise, and rest. So supplementation, though, not only for me includes extras that you're taking, but you're paying attention to nutrition. How are you supplementing your body with what you eat? And I didn't care or think about what I ate. I'm 43 now, until I was like 25. And somebody challenged me to do a 21-day sugar and yeast fast. And I did a 19-day fast. I broke it at 19 days. But day 3 or 4 of not eating any, and this was like 20 years ago, sugar or yeast, and this was like Whole Foods before it was Whole Foods. But day 3 or 4 of doing that actually had flu-like symptoms. And if you've never done any kind of extreme fast like that, you'll find how much your body is purging out so much that feeds on you, and it keeps us inflamed and unhealthy and all these problems. So I did that. That was amazing. That actually changed my taste buds. I mean, this was over 20 years ago. I still remember it. Like synthetic sugar just tasted gross after that. So you need to pay attention to supplementation. Yes, you could think about it like the extra, but it's also the nutrition, what you're putting in. Learn what your body likes and what it doesn't like. Learn what spikes your blood sugar. Learn what, and as I age, it's fun because I'm a total foodie. Me and my wife, we love to put a lot into dinner, and we do so many nights. We love our dates, and we are not in any kind of way missing out. Like, it's amazing what we get to enjoy, but it is paying attention to this whole profile. So under the physical umbrella, I'm hitting these 3 parts of how you stay encouraged, stay consistently encouraged. We've got the supplementation. You've also got rest. And I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I'll just say that I pay attention to my sleep. A day that I've slept great, I can attack it at a way that I can't even touch that if I haven't slept as well. So you need to figure out what works for you. For me, staying cool. I have usually 2 cups of Yogi bedtime tea almost every night. I brew them both at the same time. I have a sleep supplement that I take that is almost nil on melatonin, just because the research is still kind of out on that, and I don't want to take a lot of that. So I pay attention to that. It makes a difference. If I don't go asleep at the right time, it's like my body wakes back up again, and I'll have trouble for hours going to sleep. And I've got different things I do to kind of offset that if it does happen, but I try to not let that happen. Travel schedule and stuff obviously affects that some. So we're just talking about physical. We're talking about supplementation. We're talking about what it means to sleep well, and then exercise. And exercise for me, has been a part of my life from a minimum effective dose for like the last 12 or 13 years. I definitely let it slip in my 20s. We had young kids. You're just surviving that phase. I let it slip again in COVID. So full confession, man, it was not good for me physically, because I had a routine before COVID where I would go to the gym every morning. I had just started lifting weights again. I would run. I had some problems with plantar fasciitis, but I was able to get on the other side of that. It's healed now. Woo! I'd do the sauna every morning and blah, 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 blah. So I've had to reinvent my physical routines. Recently bought into a workout system that I love. It's a minimum effective dose kind of thing. You do a few basic exercises, you get to fatigue. I am seeing results from it. I've been doing it for 5 weeks, and I look to make it a part of my life and keep going with it, so I'm excited about that. I'm constantly trying to upgrade my knowledge about exercise and figure out what works for my body, and I'm changing some things. I love the feel of going on a very long run and what it looks like to come back after that run. But I will say right now I'm not running because I'm experimenting with this weightlifting, or it's more whole body, not weightlifting, but resistance bands, exercise, and it's a whole thing. So, but you figure out what works for you. So we've got supplementation, which includes nutrition, the way I'm breaking it down. And then we've got rest and exercise. Now, all that's under physical. Now, here's what I would tell you. Why did I spend all that time on that? This isn't my field of expertise. It's not where I try to show up in the world and help people with. But I know that that is the baseline to me feeling amazing. I'm addicted to feeling great. I know when I don't feel great. And I know, without going into too much detail, about 90% of the time, I can figure out why I don't feel great. And it might be something related to those first 3 things. It might be related to something circumstantial. So let's get now into the emotional piece. The second thing for keeping yourself encouraged is the emotional piece. You want to think about, when you're assessing your emotional health, your circumstances and your processing. So the circumstances you go through have an emotional weight that they put on you. And we all have different capacities. And some of you express too much, and some of you don't express enough. This is just experience I've gained in working with lots of people. My wife expresses a lot. I won't say too much. It's just between me and you. Um, but I then express too little because opposites attract. My body has a way of telling me, Chris, you're overloaded and you're not catching up with yourself. You have too many dangling loose ends mentally. You're not processing this stuff. It actually happened to me for the first time about a month, 3 weeks ago, lose track of time, in a way that it hasn't happened in years. So every few years, my body has a way of just saying, whoa, 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 whoa. And the way it shows up for me and the way it shows up for a lot of guys is their lower back. Now, I'm not saying guys don't have lower back problems, but I am saying most guys need to read the books that, I forget the doctor's name, I can't remember it now, who has written that for most guys, it's emotions getting locked up in their back. Now, before you dismiss me, I'm telling you that I didn't have this knowledge. I was speaking somewhere, had a lot of back pain. A guy came up and told me about this book. I read the book. I practiced it. Boom. It helped a ton. So check that out. But about 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, from the cancer surgery and everything that had happened, I was just overloaded. The year that COVID brought me in the business and a number of circumstances, and then the cancer surgery, man, I'm laying down by the fire. I'm flat. I'm out. I'm done. And I just had to lay there. Okay. And I walked through the progression of this book. And it's like, all right, my back is not a scaredy cat back. I don't have discs that are slipping. I just have emotions that are stuck. And was able to catch up with myself. So there's the circumstances and how overloaded you are under the emotional health. You've got to rise. I don't like that terminology because the Navy SEALs have a thing. You don't sink, you don't rise to the level to the occasion. You sink to the level of your training. Maybe a better way of saying it is you've got to stretch your capacity into this new arena. The way that you grow is stress stretches your capacity. And my capacity had to catch up with the weight of my burdens. Now, what you can do, and this is the second thing under emotional health, is the processing piece. And so I have a lot of exercises that I do, some daily, some weekly, and then some in bigger formats where I'm able to catch up with myself. And I feel like I understand what's going on. For me, the two big questions that are key to emotional processing are, who am I and where am I? Because there's a dynamic fluidity to the experience of our identity, and then that spills over into how we make sense of the world that we're in and what we're doing. And we teach all that in our key program, Figure That Shift Out. So you go to SightShift.com. It's not everything we teach in that, but SightShift.com is the starting point for where you can get an understanding of what we do, where we walk people through what we call Figure That Shift Out, which is this, there's more to it than that, but the piece of this is this emotional awareness we rebuild and growth. So a lot more I could say about that, but that's the two pieces under the emotional. So how do you keep yourself encouraged? We have the physical, we have the emotional, we have, third, the mental. By mental, it's this. I am constantly paying attention to how to separate myself from my experience so I can be mindful, and then I can re-engage the experience so I can upgrade the mindset. Now, the most recent podcast episode that I think I have on the SightShift podcast now, it's like an hour long. It's where I taught through this for an hour, just this one idea, to our internal online community. We call it Recharge. Once a month for anybody that's ever invested in SightShift, they get to come to that. And then I'm teaching, we break up into groups, and we help people just grow like crazy. But I taught through that. Now, what we teach and Figure That Shift Out, the end that we end with is that rhythm. We call it aware, lean in, flip, flow. You get aware, you lean in the moment, you learn how to flip it, and you get back into flow. That aware, lean in piece is where you're separating from, you're becoming the observer or the witness to your experience. The flip flow is where you engage the experience back. Now, what everybody's doing that they don't realize is they're either teaching half of that and leaving off the other half, and it's not either. They're teaching the half that they resonate with most. So if you didn't get a lot of mindfulness awareness in the home that you grew up in, you gravitate towards that, you love it, but you forget to re-engage the circumstance to upgrade your mindset. There are a lot of people who get jacked up and hyped up about mindset upgrades, but they never process it deeply by separating themselves from the experience. And that's what I mean by mental. Mentally, there is no problem that somebody could bring me or any of our coaches in a chat and us not identify a way for them to be mindful with it and upgrade their mindset with it. It's a both and approach. And this is where you really start to train your brain. Your brain has the ability to train, and that's so powerful. Unfortunately, it's 1:15, so I got to be super brief. The last category here of the 4 categories keeping yourself encouraged is, we call it spirituality, right? How you make meaning out of what you are doing. People don't burn out because they're extremely burdened. This has been shown in the research. They burn out because what they're doing doesn't make sense anymore. They can't connect it to the bigger picture. They're not able to make meaning. And if my physical is dialed in, and my emotional is dialed in, and my mental is dialed in, and spiritually I'm able to make meaning out of what I'm doing, then for the most part, I keep myself consistently encouraged and motivated. Nobody is responsible for that. And I'm able to show up at my best in a way that just most people aren't paying attention to these 4 pieces and able to do. And there is such an amazing world for you to discover. Get addicted to feeling great. I got a split. Sorry I can't follow up with any more. Hope this helps you. Peace.